So it's going to happen right now, the EAT wildcard contest final. And the best one to actually explain what is this and what we're going to have in a minute is Celia Pita from EAT Health. So please join me here.
Thank you, Jaco, for the warm introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you for the panel for being here and the startups and everybody joining us from here and from home, hopefully streaming in. As Jaco was saying, I'm here to explain you a little bit. Maybe you're hearing about the startups, you're interested in the pitches, but you're wondering, what is it that is the wildcard program? And I want to explain it in a way that it says wildcard program is almost two words. I would say wildcard is a concept, and then program is the second one. And I would like to start, yes, first with wildcard. So if you think wildcard in different industries, in different areas, it might mean slightly different things, but we all understand what it is. And first, I would like to just focus on where the concept started, poker. So in wildcard, a wildcard in poker is a card that can take any value. So it can be anything, it's unexpected, it's unpredictable. Second thing that I wanted to mention is, like in North America, in baseball, there's something called wildcard series. This is when top teams in the league fight against or compete against maybe lower scaling teams. They give them a chance to sign, and sometimes they are unexpectedly the winners. So that's also a wildcard. And in programming, going technical, a wildcard character means a character that can take any value. So if we look at that in the keywords that I take out of all these concepts, I would say, first, a wildcard is unpredictable. Second, a wildcard might be an underdog. And third, a wildcard is powerful. And all of the things that had in common, and we've been were many times throughout the presentations and the panel discussions, a wildcard is disruptive. And something that is disruptive is impactful. So when we talk about the wildcard, and then I'll go to the program later on, we're looking for things that are impactful. And in this case, this year, we're looking for things that are impactful in children's health. But what do we do, and what is this about, and what is the program? So what we do is we construct open innovation challenges in which we collaborate either with industry, hospitals, the network to find out unmet needs that we could foster innovators to actually solve these challenges and to help them accelerate the solutions to hopefully get adopted and get into the market. And as I was saying, and why is it a wildcard, is we're looking and putting the scope of an under-innovated or under-invested areas. And as I was saying this year, and why we're here, is we're focusing on children's health, which we've found that the pediatric community has been a very welcoming one for us in this whole journey. And I would like to thank Sant for the collaboration and to let us be here in this stage with such a motivated and people-driven community that wants to make an impact. So, but a little bit of that is how we got here, what is our history, not throughout, but this year's program. So I would just like to start with how did we get to pediatrics, right? Where was the challenge selection? And as my our director of Accelerator, Magda Krakowiak, was talking a little bit, if you were listening at the beginning of the presentation, with Association of Partners. And what we did was ask our partnership, what are your needs? What are you thinking the ecosystem needs right now, and so on. Pediatrics sounded strong. And this is why we started for this one. And we partner with Sant in the whole landscape. And you can see here a picture of my colleague Maria Sanchez in a not so sunny, much sunnier day than today, a year ago in the Pediatric Innovation Days, announcing this collaboration. So we've gone a long way, we've done a lot of things, and we're very happy to be here. The next step that we did is to do workshops to shape this challenge, to see what are the real unmet needs, because pediatric is a small word in itself, right? It's a small word for the small people, but not so small as we've heard not so long ago in the panels. So that was the first step, and we've consulted and done many interviews and workshops with different stakeholders that are involved, so industry, hospitals, experts, regulatory, and also patients. So we've been collaborating as part of our collaboration with Sant with the Kids Foundation, in which we have kids that are training in clinical trials and innovation to be able to put a little bit of their input into what is created. And we wanted to make sure that we had that perspective when we defined the challenge. And yes, here we have a picture of the workshop in which the kids participated, and we are lucky here today to have two of the patients' representatives to do the evaluations today as part of the panel. Then what did we do next? So as anything, we selected companies. We selected 16 companies that started in the, or hopefully they wanted to start in the 5-month journey of the wildcard. Very intensive one, very arduous, but hopefully very worth it, and you will see the outcomes very soon. Then that started with a deep dive in which we involved more than 25 clinical and business mentors to support the startups in a very fast-paced, meaningful way, in which we came from the 16 companies that I'm saying right now to the 7 finalists that are today here with us, and that you will get to know very soon. So that was during the business model validation. This was an 8-week thorough program that we do in collaboration with the CRUSH program that Sophia just mentioned very few minutes ago, and with John Collins that unfortunately couldn't be here with us today. But that has been instrumental throughout all the years, the 5 years of the program, and in this edition as well. So that will take us here. But I would want to talk a little bit more about what made special wildcard this year. What is particular that we didn't have before? And I would like to say that it was driven for a single focus and a single challenge. Pediatric is its own universe, and therefore it couldn't be served with anybody else. If you know that from past editions, we used to have 2 challenges every year, and we decided to make it our single focus. It's our first edition collaborating with a healthcare provider, Sant Barcelona Children's Hospital, and their unique Eye for Kids. And more than 16 clinicians and Sant Barcelona Children's Hospital personnel were involved. And you can see their faces there. Not all the names are here today, but we would like to express our thank you. And before we move to the next, I would like to invite Arnau Vaz to the stage to share a little bit about the experience and how it has been so far. Thank you, Arnau.
Thank you, Celia. And as you've said, that's been an incredible experience. And first of all, thank you very much to EIT Health to allow us also to be partners on this. We've been learning a lot, not only from the huge experience of all the EIT Health and Wildcard program, but also from the mentors and all the people that are involved in this project, and also from all the startups, the 16 participants, and the connections that have been created in between the hospital and those innovators. We've been talking about those challenges, and I think that thanks to programs like that, we can impact and go beyond the frontiers of the hospital, get to new innovations that can tackle really the real unmet needs that we see. So I think it's been an amazing experience.
Thank you so much, Arnau. I wanted to ask you a little bit through the whole experience and what you were thinking before when we started the collaboration until now, what most has surprised you, or what do you think it was the biggest impact that you had when collaborating with us, but also with the companies and the startups participating in the program?
I think one of the main learnings was and impacts was to see the evolution, and that is possible. In that case, I think most of startups were open to get the feedback. Mm-hmm. When you provide the sufficient and environment to create this conversation in between the ones that are on the first line of the field, that really know the unmet needs and that have to be working on that, and those that have a value proposition to solve those solutions. So this conversation, how it was created and possible thanks to a program and a structure, I think was one of the main learnings that I've seen.
From our side, we were very happy to see the involvement of the clinicians and everybody in the hospital, very motivated and very driven to help the startups. And I think it has added an extra value that wouldn't have been there otherwise when all the other times that we've done this many times, but it's a different perspective when it comes to the hospital, and I think more collaborations on this sense that bring us closer to the adoption, and the impact is the way to go. I don't know what you think about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here we had the chance to bring together all the different stakeholders. So having the mentors, those people with experience that have gone through the process many times and that have seen many experiences, those that are now starting or that are, again, bringing new innovations, but also those that are on the other side and that are working every day with that, and also the patients, with the kids also, that can provide their perspective. So it creates this great movement of quick validation, this agile way of working that I think should be definitely repeated. And yeah, I hope that more programs like that can be brought and built in the future.
Thank you so much, Arnau. I really appreciate your input. Thank you. So we talked a lot about what we do and the collaboration and what we've done, but the spotlight is on who we have here today, which are the wildcard companies and our panel sitting down. And I would like to introduce you a little bit of these mentioned panels. So first, I would like to say we have 3 investors in the room. We have Mark Ramis, that is been introduced before with Montana Funds. We had Austin Sawyer from Nina Capital, Sergi Serrano from Capital Cell. We have our own representative, Christina Hertel from EIT Health as head of asset management and hopefully investments to come from EIT Health. And then we have Enrique Barba from Sant Joan de Déu, and is an i4Kids advisor. Thank you so much for being here with us. And also the kids. So we have here Ricard Casanova and Daniel Marin that are here to provide their perspective also on the projects. So I would like to then thank also the team. So we are with whom this would now have been possible. So we have here Sofia Ferreira that you've seen very recently, Arnau, myself, Alessio, that has been instrumental as well, and Maria Sanchez that's also been collaborating. So kudos to the team. We made it, we're here, and hopefully there will be a lot of good things coming through later on. And last but not least, and not least important, the teams. So the teams have done an arduous work to come here. We are only enablers and amplifiers of the work that they put in. So this is very important to mention. There's been 25 hours of mentoring, 16 hours of lecture, but the real time has been on the work. And we put 400 hour plus estimated work, but probably it's more. We were not clocking in the hours, but definitely we know this is tough and this is very hard. So kudos to everybody here for all the hard work. And now I have a question for the audience, and I'll pass it on to Jacob to introduce the teams. But are you ready for our innovators? So thank you very much for listening.
Perfect. So as the classics say, let's get ready to rumble. We have 7 startups. I'm going to be pretty strict. Every startup had 7 minutes, but we are in the delay, so you have 4. No, you will have 7, don't worry. You have 7 minutes for the pitch presentation, and I know you're really good at that, so I don't worry about that time. After the pitch presentation, we have 6 more minutes for the questions, but only from the first row. I know that you people in the crowd would like to ask some questions. No, only these guys, these special people right now in the first row, have the ability to ask questions today. But don't worry, we will have a question and session after or during the lunch. So the first startup I would like to introduce is a startup from Belgium, and it's called Innocens. That's a young startup with a solution that uses predictive AI to protect the most vulnerable newborns.
good morning still, everyone. I'm David van Laaren. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Innocens. And this is me in the picture, taking care. I'm a former neonatal intensive care specialist, taking care of preterm infants in the University Hospital of Antwerp, up to a year ago still. And these kids are very special kids. They're young, they're vulnerable, and we need to guide them through their first months of life, but they're not sick. They get sick from time to time. There are 400,000 newborn infants in Europe being admitted in the neonatal intensive care unit every year, and 60,000 of them will get a bacterial bloodstream infection called sepsis. And compared to their peers, their mortality risk doubles, and even if they survive it, they have a risk for a lifelong handicap. Their length of stay in the unit will increase significantly by, on average, 19 days, and costs will rise with every sepsis episode. Yet sepsis is treatable with IV antibiotics, but timely detection is key for a good outcome. And that's where the problem lies, because sepsis presents in a neonatal intensive care unit with very subtle signs that are easily overlooked. The life of your kids depends on human caregivers that are experienced. And I mean these caregivers take care of multiple patients at the same time. At night, staffing changes. There's less nursing and doctors at night. And usually when a nurse picks up this disease, she can't decide to start antibiotics. So there is this hierarchy in decision making. And if you wait too long with this disease, if this disease progresses too far, these kids are going to die. And I've witnessed that on many occasions. And if you look back into the data of these kids, you could often see patterns changing that were clearly there, but way before we even detected that sepsis. But you can't see these patterns looking forward. And so we used the full data potential that we had, more than 30,000 NICU days with minute-per-minute data, and used machine learning techniques to catch these patterns. And we were able, with our machine learning model, to detect 81% of severe sepsis cases, with 2 to 11 hours faster than the golden standard of suspicion, with less than 1 warning per patient per week across all thresholds. But we all know an algorithm doesn't save lives. So we've built Innocens. Innocens is clinical decision support technology that will warn clinicians as soon as these aberrant data patterns arise, because that's what clinicians need. They now have an overview of all their patients, where they can look when an aberrant pattern is there, when a patient is at risk for sepsis. But moreover, if they click on a patient, they can see the model output and every signal that contributes to that aberrant data pattern. It's explainable AI. And this is how we do that. Innocens integrates in your existing infrastructure, no need for new hardware. We use existing data streams, and every half hour we will compare those data streams, process them with the machine learning model within our software, and then provide updated risk predictions for sepsis. 24/7, day and night, never gets tired. So we've implemented this in 2 hospitals now, and we've done an implementation study in the University Hospital of Antwerp. And this is one case, a 27-weeker, presenting with sepsis at day 7. It took us 10 hours before we started antibiotic, after the nurse raised suspicion 10 hours before. That's the hierarchy of decision making. And after implementing Innocens, we saw in a similar case of a 26-weeker that care process was way accelerated. It only took us 2 hours. And so this needs to be validated in clinical trials, whether that translates into better clinical outcomes. We are focusing with our solution on highly digitized NICUs with DRG payment systems in the northwest of Europe. And these are 3,100 beds that we will focus on for a market share of 7.7 million euro. Our pricing is based on our competition. We charge €7 per bed per day. We have one-off installation fee of €10,000, and our costs are €5,000 for installation and about €11,000 per NICU per year. And as I mentioned, we focused on hospitals with a DRG payment, because these hospitals are financed with a lump sum for giving treatment to a patient with a certain diagnosis. And so they're upfront paid. And so if the care efficiency increases, they retain money. And because sepsis is so prevalent and it adds to so many additional length of stay, if you could detect it earlier, potentially you could reduce that length of stay. And we calculated on real financial data, the reduction of 1.5 days would make that solution beneficial for hospitals. And we validate this with multiple CEOs and CFOs of different hospitals in Belgium and Holland. We're going to market in 2026, focusing on integration in 16 hospitals. First, sales increment by 20 hospitals in 2027 to up to 32. We need 36 hospitals to become profitable. Our gross margin is about 81%, net margins of 31%. We're currently in a stage of proof of concept. We're running a pre- and post-implementation study. We are going to a release of a software version 1.0 with all the ISO standards needed. We're doing validation of our model with several hospitals across the EU where we have access to data, and we're going to onboard in different hospitals to really start doing large clinical trials and showing what we need to do. So what we need at present is we've already raised almost 1.1 million euro in 2023. We now need at minimum 500k euro to reach cost until the end of 2024 for the additional regulatory compliance, to do our first pilot trial, and to increase our operational team. So these are our competitors. We have Hero, that is an existing solution with less sensitivity. They use one sensor, higher false alarm rates compared to us. We have IP that is secured, and we have a trade secret.
That's 7 minutes, so thank you for that.
Yeah, okay.
I gotta be strict because the rest will follow. So if we're gonna be, you know.
No worries. Okay.
So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Now we have a 6 minutes Q&A session.
Sorry.
So don't worry, stay with us for the next 6 minutes. And we're going to be pretty strict about those 6 minutes as well. So please, the judges, start.
Yeah, one question I had was, how early do you have to catch sepsis with antibiotics? How early do you have to treat sepsis to actually have antibiotics be effective? Part one. And then part two is, how long would it take the hospitals to recoup the price of the software? How many hospitalizations would they have to prevent for them to be profitable or actually be saving money with the current pricing?
So we don't have data on how early, there's never been data out there on how early you have to give antibiotics. There's a real clear medical publication showing that every half-hour delay of antibiotics between diagnosis and treatment increases the risk of poor outcome. That medical evidence from a level 4 NICU is out there, but there is no actual data on the care process and the impact of such technology because it just doesn't exist. We haven't measured that. And so DRG payments, that is where we know that if you have a NICU with about 30 sepsis episodes per year, and you could reduce the additional length of stay by 1.5 days, in a 40% DRG payment financing, it would become profitable.
Just a question on the treatment that follows your prediction. Are you incorporating also what kind of treatment, or you always treating in the NICU with broad spectrum antibiotics?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and that normally the standard of care, and that's how
That's the standard of care.
Okay.
You start using broad-spectrum antibiotics until your blood culture becomes positive, and then you narrow down your antibiotic treatment.
And do you see the potential of your technology basically to skip a step, so you would know what kind of bacteria you should target based on the symptoms?
Yes, that would be possible, but then you would have to build a different model. So this is an early warning model. If you want to go into a diagnostic model, you have to use different parameters and different signs, and then
Okay.
it
Yeah,
becomes
well, maybe a diagnostic support tool.
Exactly.
And then my second question is, can this scale, and probably this is the wrong forum to bring such a political question, but can this scale to an adult population, and then
Yes, absolutely. So not with the same model, but with the same technology. So everything in medicine is about time.
Yes.
So everything is time dependent if you want to improve outcomes. So yes, that
Okay,
the answer
but then
is
my
really yes.
second question, sorry for taking too much time, is the data you collect in this model, will that support the development for expansion in an adult?
The know-how does.
Okay.
It's similar data, but the know-how is dependent on the cross-domain, medical domain, into the technical field doing that.
Quick questions. Congratulations. First one, I need to understand the rationale on your fundraise need. So you need 4.3 million, but then you are pitching for 500,000. Why so?
Because we finalized the first seed round in February 2022. We want to increase the value a little bit more of the company. So we want to top up currently what we have to really reach a next point where we want to do a Series A pre-commercialization, get into sales, prepare sales, and then have a higher valuation at this point in time.
Second question, this data is based on the standard of care. Do you think the novel new generation of antibiotics, how sepsis is going to be treated in the next years, and how this is going to impact on the incidence of sepsis as well, how this is going to change on your technology?
I mean, treating sepsis doesn't prevent sepsis. It's always going to be there at this stage in time. So I don't see there anything changing. What you need to know is that a lot of units don't even have access to real-time data in an electronic medical record. Still, nurses write down a number every hour in the electronic medical record. Let alone that they currently can see the insights that we can provide them. So yes, we will still be earlier for a long time to come.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and congratulations of the project. I think that they made a lot of questions that I want to do. The only thing I want to know is who is the team, and
yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get there.
I think that was the last slide.
Yeah, so we have a team of clinicians, machine learning engineers, front and back end software developer, and a customer developer who's currently operational in the team. We are a spin-off of the University Hospital of Antwerp and University of Antwerp. We use technology of IBM, and we work with quite a lot of hospitals in Belgium, Holland, and then also in the NHS. But we have a 4-man team currently working full-time in the venture, but also focusing on our sales trajectory already.
And another question, the sensitivity that you have here. How many patients you test to take the sensitivity?
So this is trained on 30,000 NICUs of almost 900 patients. But it's 30,000 days with minute-per-minute data that we carefully enriched. And so we're doing almost the double amount of data that we add from other centers to validate the model on. So it's not only the patients, because patients stay for a very long time in the unit, but you need to have access to 50 days worth of data from every patient with minute-per-minute data in there. And that's not easy to find, let alone that data set is really well cured and that you get the value out of that.
Thank you very much. So we made it just in time, so perfect. Now we have a second startup. That's a startup called Joan team from, First of all, I wanted to say, of course, best of luck to our guest here who just presented, and then I wanted to introduce another team, Joan Life Science from Ireland, who will present their project, also focused on neonatal care, right? But just this one in biotech, I think.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here on Life Sciences. We will be presenting on an intranasal cell therapy. So welcoming a new baby is a wonderful time for families and for parents, but unfortunately, it doesn't always go smoothly. Some babies suffer complications from lack of oxygen to the brain due to the birth itself or due to the pregnancy. This type of newborn brain injury is called HIE, or hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. It is one of the leading causes of infant mortality and lifelong disability globally, including high rates of cerebral palsy. HIE is considered an orphan rare disease, and unfortunately, despite many advances in neonatal care over the last number of years, no approved drug therapies have been developed. The current available therapy is therapeutic hypothermia or cooling, where a baby's body temperature is lowered to limit the damage done. But unfortunately, while this works for some, it doesn't work for many. We are developing a treatment to give these babies a fighting chance. Canvas, our solution, is an intranasal cell therapy that is easy to use, developed and optimized specifically for these vulnerable babies. It is based on a stem cell platform technology where we isolate and identify the cells with the highest therapeutic potential and allowing early treatment when it is needed most. So from a single placenta, we can generate more than 1,000 doses, allowing early intervention. So after birth, when HIE is suspected, there is a narrow treatment window where every hour counts. Our intranasal cell therapy will allow early intervention with an easy-to-use therapy that can fit in seamlessly to the current care pathway. So how does it work? Our treatment targets the key mechanisms of brain injury in HIE, decreasing inflammation, as well as decreasing cell death of neurons, the important signaling cells in the brain. This is as well as protecting white matter, blood vessels, and the blood-brain barrier. And we have the data to support this. So our data is in large animal models under clinically relevant conditions, including as add-on to the standard of care. First, we see improved survival, but we also see, importantly, neuroprotection, thinking about the long-term impacts on those survivors. The graphics, what you see in green is healthy, mature neurons, where there is an abundant supply in a normal brain, decrease in brain injury, but after 4 days of treatment, a substantial improvement in the stem cell treated groups. So what are others doing? Our main competitors are MSCs, a type of cell therapy, and small molecules. We have key advantages over this limited and early stage pipeline. Firstly, large animal data. Secondly, improved efficacy over MSCs, which is one type of cell. And thirdly, scalability.
So how are we going to protect it? We've got multiple layers of barriers to entry. We've got regulatory, we've got patents till 2043 at the earliest. We own the supply exclusively, and we have the technical know-how. We've retained the original inventors in the company. Moyed's talked about the impressive outcomes that we believe we can achieve with Canvas, but does anyone care? The patient advocacy groups do. They're crying out for new treatment. We've talked to neonatologists, and they're very excited by what regenerative medicine can do in this space. So who's going to pay for it? We've done our research, and based off QALYs, a quality adjusted life year, we believe at a modest 20% improvement on standard of care, we'd achieve a price listing in the US for $200,000 per treatment, about half that in Europe at a low level. We're being conservative. So what does that look like from a market position? The 30,000 patients, 12,000 of them are moderate to severe, so they require direct intervention. They're our initial target. If we can get half that market, because there is no competition at the moment, we believe the market could be very attractive. So what do you want to do first? Straight to the US, focus on selling directly to hospitals using outsourced sales models, which we've used before, and get this market and get it out here before we go out to Europe. So here's our roadmap with multiple exit opportunities along the way. The technology is up for 10 years, being initially researched in Australia. We've bought it, taken it in ourselves, funded it directly ourselves, and now we're looking to raise 2 or 3 million to optimize the product for a preclinical before we do a Series A to get it into clinic. Exit then, at that point, go to IPO, which we're more than open to, or trade sale, or go again on a Series B to get it to clinic for the phase 3. So I talked about pharma partners, so who are they? Great news today. There's a lot of big pharma who are involved in this space in neonatal brain injury. If you look at the International Neonatal Consortium at the bottom, there's a lot of pharma parties there that we're familiar with. I'm sure you guys are as well. The good news is also that Moyen and myself have experience with these discovery teams and licensing teams, so we have some relationships there already. Why us? Why not? We've done it before. Moyen and myself have 20 years biotech experiences, taking concepts all the way from the bench to phase 3. We've done pediatric rare disease before, getting multiple orphan designations in Europe and the FDA, raised money in this space, and we're supported by leading stem cell scientists. Dr. Jayant Patel on the right there is the original inventor and part of the team. To conclude, cooling is the present, Canvas, we believe, is the future, and we can have a dramatic impact in this space. Thank you for listening.
Perfect. You guys even saved 20 minutes, so that's perfect. Let's have a round of Q&A then. 6 minutes.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. A very interesting presentation, but nevertheless, for me, it's not clear how you are jumping from the pigs to the children. That means that the most of cases, the tests done with animals are not working with persons. So how you're so sure that you can go from the animal to the person? Because I think the key is the issue in that case.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe you explain, but you are so fast that I again don't get the point, because for me it's the key issue on this project.
Yeah, so clinical translation is very important, and actually within the experience for HIE, there are a lot of lessons to be learned. So the only therapy that works for some currently is hypothermia or cooling. So this was tested in these animal models. What's observed clinically is consistent with what's observed in the animals. So it's really important to make sure that the conditions are as close as possible. The reason pigs are selected is because they are much more predictive because of their biology on what may happen compared to rodent models, which others are using. But also taking other learnings is, more recently, some trials have looked at other types of EPO, but the early preclinical work in the animal models didn't include these clinically relevant conditions, so the standard of care, and factors like that. So the key is to reduce the risk that there may be a lack of clinical translation by making sure that the animal data addresses as much as you can. It's not going to be exactly what you will see clinically, but it should give you a high degree of confidence that what you are observing in your studies can be carried forward from there.
How many tests are you planning to do to jump into children?
Yeah, so from one of the challenges of going straight into children is that you have to front load your safety testing and your toxicology. So that's from the safety side. From the efficacy side, we have already 2 pig models in HIE and another in neonatal brain injury. We also have data in a wide range of conditions where these cell types in our therapy are tested against either cell alone or against other therapies. So we have 2 large animal brain injury models, a number of supportive rodent models, and ultimately, once we optimize our product, we want to run 1 large piglet model supported with safety work.
But to your question, and to give some confidence on safety, there are other companies who have put MSC cells into phase 1, into babies already. So we have confidence on the safety, but we're adding an additional placental cell to that. We need to do the work.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Because timing is so sensitive of the intervention, what is the mechanism that leads up or flags the patient to make you believe that there's high risk? And do you have concern about being able to flag a patient fast enough in the first place to make sure that you're intervening at the right time or the optimal time?
Yeah, I think that's really the key here, is that we are not trying to change the current care pathway. So those patients are already identified. What we want to do is within that narrow therapeutic window, so within 6 hours of birth, that we begin treatment. So by being an intranasal, easy-to-use product, that means that staff can be trained easily. This can be given quickly. It's coming off the shelf. This is not like a cell therapy that needs a lot of preparation work. It's when it's needed, it should be immediately available.
So you're saying that 100% of the time, this is caught early enough that you could intervene and it would be successful? I'm asking about whether the flagging is sufficient to actually intervene at the correct time.
Yeah, so HIE is typically suspected very early. It's confirmed later on, but in terms of identifying those who need treatment, it's essentially the patients who currently receive cooling as our first target patient population.
Maybe a little bit related. Can you elaborate a little bit on how you're going to determine dosing?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing to say is that we can draw from a lot of experience with use of MSC cell therapies in terms of dosing, where we know what the dosing ranges. We also know that one interesting aspect of these cells for other indications is that they seem to work better in children, and that higher doses are more effective. So in terms of selecting doses, we will use our preclinical studies. So we have an idea of a dosing range currently, but then we narrow that down before we get to our first clinical study.
So the dose response study, that is going to take place in the preclinical model, the pig model?
So that will be in the pig model, but then when we go clinically, we'll start with a phase 1. So that will be a dose escalation where we will start with a lower dose and then work up to higher doses.
Well, you want to go first? Oh, quick question on the competitor landscape, please. So I've seen that there are 3 other projects, especially the Japan one and the Duke. They are already in phase 1.
Yeah.
So probably you have to prove superiority about these projects, and then your differentiation approach is based on the improved efficacy versus. So can you elaborate a bit more to be sure about what this is clearly better than the other ones, because these ones are going to be on phase 1, phase 2. So you will have to prove that you are. So how you are.
Just a short answer, please, because we run out of time already.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing to say is that from the preclinical data, both in the brain injury context and then in others, we have direct comparisons with MSCs. So our therapy is based on 2 cell type ECFCs and MSCs, so there's direct comparison there. And what that highlights is when we showed that mechanism slide, there are multiple mechanisms that feed into brain injury. And for several of those, we have head-to-head data showing improvement. So that is where we see the advantage. Yes, these MSCs are a little ahead, but when you look overall, this is still a very early stage pipeline. So we believe that by moving quickly and by focusing on the advantages, we can compete very strongly.
So thank you, guys. Sorry.
Thanks.
Thank you. I gotta be the policeman again, so sorry for that. Sorry for maybe during a break, but we have the last startup. Of course, best of the luck, Joan. And before the break, we have a team from Sunny Italy, Rehabilitalia Technologies, and please, guys, tell us a little bit more about your project.
Thank you. That's that. This one for yeah. Well, Rehabilitalia Technologies, kids neuromotor rehabilitation designed for anyone, anywhere, and anytime. That's our vision. Here's Mario. He's a very funny boy with a fantastic family. I met him some years ago because they came in our lab to try and play with some of our devices because they were looking for something useful and suitable for him, because unfortunately, Mario is affected by cerebral palsy. And at that time, I decided that I wanted to do something for him. And not only for him. There are about 18 million people worldwide affected by CP, which is the most common motor and cognitive disability and in childhood. And from an economic perspective, lifetime additional cost is around $1.6 million per patient in addition. And there are some important guidelines. Rehabilitation has to be personalized. It means that it has to face specific needs for specific impairments of each specific patient. It must be intense in order to promote as much as possible neuromotor plasticity. And especially for kids, it must be playful in order to provide a context for learning and to promote the engagement of the kids to reach a rehabilitation treatment and aims. With this in mind, we started developing a portable robotic device for kids, especially designed for kids. FiCube, or the new PlayStation for rehabilitation. 3 highlights. It has more than 30 configurations. It means that it allows to promote many monolateral and bilateral rehabilitation training tasks in a very flexible way. In order to promote an intense use also at home, it embeds our telerehabilitation suite, which is being developing by taking into account families, doctors, and bioengineers' needs in order of data accessibility, which will be usable on PC, tablet, and mobile. And in order to promote the compliance of the kids to the therapy, it will not be interfaced only with commercial games, but also with a suite of games specifically designed with doctors in order to target specific kids' needs. There are competitors, but if we take into account specific features in order to promote a versatile use in home settings, FiCube is outstanding. We have in mind some important KPIs for many different stakeholders. We want to reduce number of in-clinic visits. We want to increase the training time for better rehabilitation outcomes, and also to increment the number of patients for improving the efficiency of the healthcare system. As a pricing strategy, we have in mind a very simple one: 15 euros per rehabilitation session, software and hardware, everything included. In order to start to analyze the sustainability for the healthcare system, we started considering the Italian one, which foresee an additional reimbursement for using robotic equipment over standard therapy of 22 euros, which means, at least in Italy, possible hospital margin of about 7 euros per session. Potentially, all the market is made up of all the 18 million people worldwide affected by CP. We will concentrate on European and American market in the first years, surely, because there are well-established healthcare systems and good relationship and networks between hospital, rehabilitation clinics, and families. And in between these, what we aim is to reach 10% of this market by considering competitors and production and distribution capabilities. In order to estimate the value, we consider an average intense treatment of 2 months per year per patient, which lead to a possible value of the target market about 60 million euros. We will initially target the Italian one because the clinics are well funded. They are used to use MVPs and prototype, and we have a good network of relationship with some of them, and they can help to build the reputation of our product. In our timeline, there are 2.5 years of clinical validation, industrialization, and certification of the product, with the aim of reaching the break-even point in 2029, after starting introduction in the market on 2026, with some well-established and well-defined milestone for fundings. For the product development, we will have to industrialize the mechanics, the software. We will integrate additional artificial intelligence module, and we will also develop a lower limb version. Not only for kids, but we will there move also to other diseases, geriatric needs, and up to the sport market in order to increase as much as possible the number of beneficiaries. We are a team of 3 people, very passionate of technologies for service of people and expert in robotics, and supported by representatives of associations, kids treatment, and business. Here's Mario, some years later, playing with the cube. And what we propose you is to join us in this venture with 500K, which will help also us for financing a 1.5 million euro EIC Accelerator project. Thank you. Here's Giovanni and Matteo, the other co-founders.
Perfect, guys. You made it just in time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we will have 6 minutes of Q&A, and after the Q&A, we will have a lunch. So let's keep it time track.
Congratulations. I have a quick question. How do you adapt your technology to each patient? As you say that each patient is different from the others.
Yeah. The idea is to, what we wanted to do during the development is to provide something which was flexible. And the diseases and impairments of kids can affect different parts of the upper limb mobility. So what I show in one of the previous slides is to integrate in this flexibility, in some of the movements that you saw, together with the specific software application. So it's somehow a combination of the hardware and the software solution.
Thank you.
Sorry, it was too big at the beginning.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, you said you will get games into the machine or the product. Have you already developed these games? With which team did you develop these games? And do these games result in engagement of the kids wanting to go to rehab? Or which is the difference that your rehab does to other rehabs?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. As you saw from the project, games will be the central part will be because we'll engage the kids while they will play. And what I raised from also speaking with clinics is say that if it's not engaging, they will not play. After 10, 15 minutes, they will stop, they will get bored, and they will stop playing. So it will be, we started collecting some suggestions from the kids, directly from the kids, and we already implemented some suggestions that they directly told us. We started, recently we had some usability tests with almost 50 patients, all affected by CP. And so we are starting this journey, and we will, of course, do the best to push on the visual part, which is very, very important for us.
Two quick questions on financing. You mentioned that you apply for the accelerator, or you actually got the accelerator?
No, we will
apply.
We will apply
okay.
Next week for the first stage.
Okay, next week.
Yeah, we have the
busy. Second one.
Sorry. Yeah.
What are the inflection points with your $500,000? So what you are gonna do with the $500,000? And
yeah. The idea I wanted to. Here we are, and what we want to reach with the $500,000 is to improve the prototype that we have now, because it's not so much reliable for clinical tests, some mechanical and software issues. We are already working on that, but we need financing. And our aim is to reach to clinical validation. We are in contact with 5 Italian clinics for a multicentric study, but they are done. It will be done in the research center, but surely we want to move it directly to the company.
Okay, one technical software question. Is your sensors, are they in the software depending on how the kids can play the game and what they achieve and what they don't, or is it in the mechanics?
I would say it's both. So it's a robotic device, so we have sensors inside to measure position, speed, and force that is exerted on the device, and on the basis of this and what is expected, we can tune the level of assistance, the level of resistance, whatever it's needed for the kid. And on the other hand, we have games, and the games we develop ourselves have the ability to collect performance in the way we need it. And so also from a software level and from a game proposal, we can tune the level of difficulty of the game that is proposed to the kid to make it challenging enough, but still doable for each specific kid. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Can you describe how this interfaces with the care team? So who's looking at the data? How do they measure progress? And how do they actually encourage the kids to use this in the first place?
I can start from the telerehabilitation platform that we are developing to answer your question. The data is collected continuously, whether the device is used in clinic or at home. And we are in contact with therapists who are actively using similar devices enabled by telerehabilitation, and they directly look at the data, usually. So they are one of the stakeholders looking at the data, but as Matteo said, another stakeholder is the research group inside the clinics. They also want to look at the data that is collected from the device, not from only a clinical point of view, but just even to research, to do their internal research of the use of the device. And third point is that the data is useful for the administrative department to monitor, for instance, if a pay-per-use strategy is economically feasible for them, because they will give the device to the families and monitor if the compliance is enough to justify the cost.
Yeah, just one note. We will make available both raw data for bioengineers and synthesized data for doctors and for monitoring the therapy during the time.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Right now, we're going to have a possibility to have a pitch presentation from Aira Health from España, who is going to talk about the digital solutions in pediatric pulmonary rehabilitation. Aira Health.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pilar, and for the next minutes, I would like you to talk about who, how, and why we want to transform respiratory care. So, sorry. First of all, Aira Medtech is a spin-off of Barcelona Children's Hospital. They have over 400 clinical trials at their back. Together, we have a combined experience of over 50 years in respiratory rehabilitation and over 35 years in entrepreneurship and innovation. Now, I want you to focus on a problem that affects millions of children in the respiratory care. 60% of respiratory patients don't adhere to the treatment plan. They don't do the respiratory physiotherapy, and we understand why. They have to spend every single day of their lives on respiratory exercises with a device like this, which is a piece of plastic, which is zero engaging, it's boring, and it's repetitive. But they have to do the physio to avoid infections, respiratory decline, and hospitalization. But the problem is bigger. There is an important problem in the care model for this type of patients. At hospital discharge, the patient goes home, and then there is a big disconnection between the patient and the healthcare system until the next exacerbation occurs. And during this gap, the physio cannot know if the patient is doing or not the physiotherapy. They cannot know if they perform it correctly or if it's effective, and of course they cannot adjust it to the current situation of the patient. So our physio and co-founder, Enrique, he thought of a solution that is a patented respiratory device that uses acoustics to connect with the software, which contains two parts. On one side, a set of respiratory exercises disguised as video games and a clinical monitoring platform for the physio to use to follow the progress of the patient and adjust the treatment. Aira is already CE marked and certified as a Class 1 medical device. We have conducted a feasibility study, and we have seen that there is an 80% improvement in the adherence of the treatment in children compared to the standard of care. Now, we believe that this increase in the adherence plus the telemonitoring will help reduce the number of visits and hospitalizations, reducing costs by 20%. In our next clinical trial, we want to prove this assumption, and we want to assess the impact in the lung function, the number of exacerbations, of book appointments, and hospital admissions. So we want to start targeting the children market, but then we will expand to the adult market. And it makes a lot of sense, because these respiratory conditions, such as cystic fibrosis, asthma, recurrent bronchitis, or COPD, they affect both children and adults. And the same solution, our same solution, works well for all of them. And respiratory conditions are the third leading cause of death, and it's growing. So the market is big and growing. We are not the only ones that have identified this need, but our main difference lies on the technology that we use. We use acoustics. Our competitors are using batteries and sensors, which increase the production cost and also have a higher negative environmental impact. Just last July, one of our competitors launched their product in the French market. But they are not tackling one of the big problems, which is this disconnection with the patient and the physiotherapist. And we solve it with our solution. Oops, sorry. During the feasibility study, we asked physios what they thought about our solution, and they were very blunt. They want Aira to get objective data regarding the lung function of the patients and be able to adjust the treatment, and also families. I would say, like most of them, and I'm not exaggerating, they were telling us that they would pay anything for their kids to have a better time doing the rehabilitation. There was a mom who said, okay, if I'm buying, check the reasoning, if I'm buying a PlayStation for my older kid, how am I not gonna buy this solution for the other one that has cystic fibrosis? Of course. So, given this, we thought that we need to start with a B2C business model. We will provide the solution for an upfront payment, and then there will be two models. A freemium model that will include a limited number of predefined exercises. There will be also objective data in the lung function of the patients, and patients will get a progress report to show it to their physio. And with the subscription model, we'll have all these, plus personalized respiratory exercises, a direct channel for communication between the physio and the patient, and a broader library of exercises and video games. Since we are already certified as Class 1, we want to enter the market in Q3 2024. and we want to start generating revenue as soon as possible and start collecting real-world data. And in parallel, we will run a clinical trial and transition from class 1 to class 2A and enter the market. No.
Yes. Sorry for that.
At hospitals. Oh, no.
Yeah. Don't worry. Maybe you can. Maybe there will be a question about the team, so you can present the team. But because right now we will go into the 6 minutes of Q&A. Yeah, you can leave it here. Okay. Exactly. So yeah, please, we'll start 6 minutes of Q&A.
So what are your financial needs?
Okay, so we. Thank you for the question. So we are seeking 1 million euros to enter the market in a year to start acquiring the Spanish cystic fibrosis and asthma market in children and to complete a clinical trial.
Yeah, you said that you're using sound sensors to...
that we are not. Sorry?
So that you're using microphones to test to check the sound. What's the difference on reliability and precision of measurements in comparison to the other platforms that are using sensors and so on? Like, do you need a controlled environment for the test to be precise?
For the test that we've been doing, since our solution is attached to a microphone, this is more than enough to capture the sound that we need to transform it into parameters that relate to the lung function. So it's, if we were not using a microphone, then yes, we would worry about the environment, the noise, let's say. But because of this, it's under control.
You just said that you would like to use this device also in adults. I wonder how would you adapt this device for adults? I mean, you would use games or what?
Yeah, so for the hardware part, it's the same. The clinical monitoring platform, it's the same as in children, but the games need to be adapted. In fact, now the first games that we have developed are for kids between 3 to 10 years old. And we will be increasing the number of games and the ranges of ages. And of course, adults need a different type of video games. But adults play also.
How many time takes for a family or patient going for 2 different visits to the hospital, to the physio?
Sorry,
how many time takes between one visit and another?
Okay. So depending on the type of indication and patient. So for chronic patients, maybe it can be 6 months. And during this time, things occur to the patient. But because of the disconnection, the physio doesn't know this and cannot adapt the treatment to the patient.
Very nice presentation. I have a question regarding the adherence, and because you started saying that they basically lead lifelong continuous treatment, how are you going to maintain the interest in playing a computer game with this thing? And then going back to the COPD, which is, have you considered that this is like an inherently difficult patient population to treat? I mean, they have a reduced lung function, but most of them, they smoke and are not doing exercise already. So getting them to blow into this half an hour a day is probably going to be very challenging.
Well, I'm going to start with the end. They already have to do it. They have to do the respiratory physiotherapy, and they have to use this.
But they probably don't, right?
No, exactly. No, but you know, there is less adherence in adults than in children to do so. So we want to adapt these games, and we want to use AI-driven environment to build these games so that the background of the game changes continuously, so that it gives like an idea of a new game or new challenge among these. And with the games for the adults, we plan to co-create them together, and we like in the future, when we focus in the adults or elderly, we would like to include other features like using sensors like that have additional biological information and integrate all these and to help motivate or increase the use of our solution. But it's a challenge, I completely agree.
And with the patient in terms of making them understand the actual use of the device. So one of the things is just gamifying adherence. And then I think one of the other things that these respiratory technologies have struggled with is allowing the patient to understand whether they're doing the exercises correctly from a form perspective, especially in spirometry, for example.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit more about how do you actually correctly instruct them that they're doing these properly? And does that actually matter? Like how sensitive is the results or efficacy of the exercises to that?
So nowadays with the standard of care, maybe patients leave the hospital with this and they didn't really understand how to do the exercises. And they have to come back to the hospital so that the physio explains again how to do it, okay? With our solution, the same game teaches you how to do it. So it's like there is no way you cannot do it well because there is like graphics that tell you how to do it. So this will help us reduce these extra visits that happen just because they didn't understand how to use it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and good luck. So let's continue now with another Spanish team. This time we have here Gate2Brain. The Gate2Brain is a biotech company with pediatric solution to deliver drugs to the brain, as their name says. Let's give it up for them.
Hello? Yeah. Thank you so much. I can shout, but it will not be fine. So children which represent 25% of our population, but 100% of our future if we don't decide to live 200 years, really never stop dreaming. Reaching the moon on a space shuttle is probably one of their beloved dreams. At Gate2Brain, we had a dream that it's to create a brain shuttle that will cross barriers and bring medicines beyond them. Going beyond the biological barriers, such as the blood-brain barrier, but also beyond the barriers of the lack of investment and development in pediatric. And why not? Beyond the barriers to achieve one day that health could be for everyone, everywhere. But why the brain? Because the brain is the more precious organ in the human body, but also the more difficult to reach when we need to treat it. And this is due to the existence of the blood-brain barrier that protects it. The reality is that 1 every 4 of us suffer from a brain disease during our life. The good news that there are drug candidates being developed at universities, research centers, big and small companies worldwide for almost all of these diseases. But 98% of these drug candidates will fail crossing the barrier, and this will stop their development and the opportunity for patients. So Gate2Brain is a peptide-based patented technology that helps drugs from different modalities to be able to reach the brain. I'm Meritxell Teixidó. I'm CEO and co-founder of Gate2Brain. Let me present you G2B002, our first mission to the brain. In fact, it's a proof of concept that our brain shuttles are able to deliver a chemotherapeutic agent to the brain to fight pediatric brain tumors with intact blood-brain barriers, such as IPG and pediatric glioblastoma, that are incurable nowadays. But why focusing as a first mission, pediatric brain tumors? It's a clear unmet need that will lead to the orphan designation for our compound G2B002. We have access to the pediatric patient-derived animal models for the fact of having Sant Joan de Déu as co-founder of the company. In fact, it's known that the BBB in kids is more tight than in adults. And we are aligned with the World Health Organization initiative by 2030 in childhood cancer. G2B002 has a clear regulatory roadmap ahead. And in fact, we are starting conversations with the EMA and applying for the orphan designation. We have recently achieved very promising results in terms of efficacy, both in reduction of tumors and increase of survival. We have a package of results of G2B002, and in fact, we are just starting the preclinical regulatory studies with the idea to reach the submission of the IMPD by the end of 2025, by mid-2025. So this is a clear opportunity to invest in a company that has been able to traction more than 4 million euros since the creation in July 2020, both from private and public funding. These 2 million euros that we are looking now will sum up to the 2.5 of the ACE accelerator that we were granted last year to do and finish the preclinical regulatory studies and reach this IMPD by mid-2025, and then a clinical trial in 2026. Which are the potential licenses of G2B002? Are companies such as Alexion, Sanofi, companies that are really moving to this pediatric oncology and rare diseases. But the potential of G2B002 goes beyond the IPG and pediatric glioblastoma. In fact, one day can benefit all those brain tumors or tumors that are sensitive to the same drug that we are transporting. But even the technology has further scalability. In fact, it can help to all those diseases where there's a drug candidate that needs a better transport to the brain. That's why we are in conversations to establish a couple of strategic co-developments with Big Pharma to use our technology with their drug candidates. The aim, a clear aim, to create further trust on the technology, and that this can trigger the potential acquisition of Gate2Brain technology, as it happens with F-star Gamma until Denali Therapeutics acquired in 2016. But why Big Pharma can be interested in such a technology? It's clear the technology has some hallmarks that make us stand in front of other solutions. Protease resistance of our peptides, more than 12 hours in the bloodstream when a normal peptide is between 15 to 20 minutes. Low antigenicity, and the fact that they can carry a wide variety of drug candidates. In fact, we have recently demonstrated the transport of a small molecule in the case of G2B002, but we have published the transport of nanoparticles, and we have a recent patent on the transport of monoclonal antibodies, therapeutic monoclonal antibodies, using our technology. In fact, these two hallmarks are the ones that really position Gate2Brain as one of the most promising technologies based in peptides to cross the blood-brain barrier. This is the clear business model of Gate2Brain, that will have the asset of G2B002 to be licensed after the phase 1/2 clinical trial, and then these strategic co-developments that will give upfronts and milestone payments to the company through these years. Everything covered with a strong IP portfolio. 3 patents on the 3 peptide families of brain shuttles, and 3 novel patents on peptide drug conjugates, because each peptide drug conjugate is an opportunity to create novel IP and increase the value of the company. Also, we have freedom to operate on the drug that we are transporting in the case of G2B002. And to be aligned with our mission, G2B002 will be protected in all those countries that there's a pediatric cancer hub where kids can benefit from it, having in this way a global impact. This is the team behind the mission, a team that ranges from peptides to oncology, from business to drug delivery and operations, a team that working together with our external advisors dream to cross barriers and bring medicines beyond them, dreaming that one day health could be for everyone, everywhere, and remembering that everything started in pediatrics. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we will have a 6 minutes of Q&A, so please stay with us, and thank you for making it in time, actually.
First, I want to applaud you for engaging in this very challenging route to success. I think GBM is a really challenging space, but very, very highly needed. So there's obviously a strong medical need, both in the pediatric and in the childhood space. I'm wondering, and this is maybe again, why have you? I'm not sure I got really understood the why you chose pediatric, because I'm challenging here whether this is the correct strategy for the regulatory hurdles that you have to go up against, and maybe reaching the market and reaching the patient would be better to go with the adult population first, and then expand into a pediatric space?
This was not planned, but I love your question, okay? So let's go from the more biological or scientific driven. So I have been 20 years in this field, okay? So from this part to the more strategic one. Biologically, it's known that in IPG and pediatric glioblastoma, the barrier is intact. When you go to adult glioblastoma, sometimes there's certain concern if the barrier is not intact or not. Not for the cure, but for the validation of the platform, it's stronger to validate it in the IPG, correct? Because you validate it in a more tough scenario. If we move a bit further, it seems very cold, but it's not like this. Because in the IPG, these kids are diagnosed, and then they gone through radiotherapy, and they will reach our clinical trial. Somehow they are a bit homogeneous. If we try to go for an adult population, this adult population, in our case, probably will come from relapse of different potential treatments. So in terms of, in this initial clinical trial, having outcomes or endpoints really giving value to the product and the company, it was very strategic, okay? Next stage, regulatory. I cannot imagine that there's any drug that is approved for pediatrics that cannot jump to an adult population in a faster manner, okay? On the opposite, I think that we'll all agree that a kid is not a half of a pill of an adult. So, but in this sense, probably this path, it doesn't mean that it's easy, but it has certain concerns. About investment, okay, I think that we all know that what you need to do is to go for certain type of investors, no? That's why we applied for this accelerator last year. That's why at the first initial investors were Fundación Botín in a program that is called Mind the Gap. So you need to work in another manner, no? But, and more or less that's it.
Thank you. Maybe just one quick biological question. So if I understand the mechanism correct, you have a peptide that binds to a receptor on the blood-brain barrier. Have you, that causes the influx into the brain. Have you looked at the reflux?
Yeah, because so we have three families. It's true that in G2B002 we use one of a specific peptide, and it uses a receptor that is overexpressed in the brain capillaries, correct? We are not using the native ligand of that receptor, so we are not competing for the same binding site. And the way we discover, and to be fair, it's not during these 3 years, it's during the 20 years and 10 PhD students before, okay? How we discover, we know that we do it in the human BBB model that was developed in Paris. So in these models, you can study the influx and the efflux. Okay, so somehow you only discover the ones that have more influx than efflux. That's.
Sure, I'll do one. Thanks for the presentation. Can you just explain in a little bit more detail your clinical trial strategy? So, you know, how many patients and how much money it's going to take?
Okay. Clinical trial, so let's make a jump on this dream, and then we are starting to have the clinical trial first draft, let's put it like this, okay? It will be unicentric, okay? It will be 10 kids. This is based on the previous experiment, previous cases or similar cases. Our dream or idea is to center it in Sant Joan de Déu, in Barcelona, because probably the hospital is ready to receive families internationally that travel there. In this case, the idea is to make like an add-on, so all of them will have the radiotherapy as a palliative care, and then you make a second arm that is with the G2B002 and compare it to the years and years of data of only giving radiotherapy, okay? This is the idea. Then the jump, the natural jump, is to make it in the next phase, if we do it by ourselves or who will license, is to do it multicentric, obviously. So this is more or less the first draft of that.
How much money do you need for the first step?
Yeah. For the first step, it's value, when you consider the CMC, okay? And peptides are much cheaper than antibodies, but are not free, okay? So for the peptides and everything, we need 5 million euros. So now we are looking for to sum up to the 2.5 of the AC for the preclinical in this stage, and then we will look for 5 million euros for the clinical phase.
And that will take you to the 3 patient or the 10 patients?
The 10 patients.
And this is the phase 2A?
Phase 1-2A, yeah.
And just one last question. So maybe in comparison to other cases that you've seen successfully license out their technologies, what is some of the strategy that you're doing from a business perspective beyond the clinical testing to attract the interest of these potential licensees? Have you started those conversations already, et cetera?
Yeah. So normally there's one sweet spot, okay? In general, in clinical trials, okay? I don't mean that in this case will happen the same. That is, they prefer to do the phase 2B another. The phase 2B, they do it because with this information to do the phase 3, for them it's better to transfer it before than not between the 2 and 3, okay? This is one thing. To make that happens, the ones that been involved in the co-developments that could be for completely different indications, in fact, they will know a lot about the technology. So maybe they can be potential licensees of G2B002 also. This is one thing. But maybe this doesn't happen. In the case this doesn't happen, what I can imagine is that they ask us that they license not only for the IPG in pediatric glioblastoma, but they license the opportunity for all the brain tumors, even if we have not demonstrated. So I cannot imagine splitting in 3 licenses for adult glioblastoma and the IPG separately.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Now we have another startup. Thank you, of course, and good luck. The next startup, I think, flew here from furthest country. I don't know if you guys live in Kazakhstan on a daily basis or right now we're in Europe. Maybe you'll... Or Uzbekistan. All right, so this is... Sorry for that. And I had a mistake here. But nevertheless, it's still far away. So please welcome Mila for AI team. From what I remember, a speech therapy startup that will talk about their digital solution.
And just a remark, I didn't fly from Uzbekistan, I flew from Singapore. I spent two weeks in Singapore on 2 technological forums there because we are global finalists there as well. Let me just figure out how it works. Do I just... Oh, the big one. All right, okay. Speech is one of the most important and fundamental skills for both individuals and society at large. I'm sorry, just a second. Oh my God, this is... How do I...
Come back with the smaller one.
It was a small one. Okay. Do I press this one again? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Speech is one of the most important and fundamental skills for both individual and society at large. We express our feelings using words. We defend our position using verbal communication. It's not moving though. We express our... It's not moving though. No, it's not moving. Okay, I'm gonna just say what's most important. Okay. We express our feelings using words. We defend our position using verbal communication. We connect with people by speaking to them. We remember the first day when our kids said their first words. I waited for over 2 years to hear my son saying, "Mommy," and the picture is not showing. He spent another 4 years attending regular speech therapy sessions. There are over 100 million people worldwide with various speech disorders, including kids with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and autism. And there is a lack of speech therapy everywhere in the world. Waiting list in the US is 3 months, Germany 6 months. In the UK, it's up to 2 years. And fees for services are not affordable for people from low-income community. Insurance, if any, covers only a limited number of sessions. Plan of care are often not personalized. Both therapists and the parents lack objective information about the performance. And exercise, kids are not practicing enough to achieve a better result because exercises are boring. That is why we created Easy Speech, AI speech application, which basically address all those needs. It's demonstrate the performance, provides real-time, and there is no voice, provides real-time tailored feedback. Unfortunately, the voice is not, you don't hear it. provides real-time tailored feedback tailored to specific error made by the user. Masks help the kid to use the correct position and to understand intuitively what needs to be done. The whole concept is based on the so-called video self-monitoring intervention, which works best for kids. The app generates 7 reports to monitor the progress. Those are overall performance over the period of time, performance by exercises, by modules, and the register of error. Those reports will save up to 25% of time therapists spend on paperwork. So how do we ensure that we motivate kids to exercise on a regular basis? Well, let's face it, they hate doing exercises in front of a mirror. Gamification. We introduced a number of gamification features to keep the user engaged. Those features are not only entertaining, but they also help the user to understand the process and to achieve the results. We trained, we built and trained our neural network based on kids and adults of various ethnicity, age, and gender to minimize bias assessment. And calibration makes it even more adaptive to specific face parameters of the specific users. Our algorithm can assess the performance even if the kid cannot keep his head straight. And there are a lot of those kids, especially kids with cerebral palsy. And furthermore, there are personification parameters which adapt to disabilities and preferences of specific users. For example, a hold time for static exercises of level of difficulties. Some call it control AI, we call it humanization of AI. There are a lot of apps, speech apps on the market, including medical devices, but none of them nearly can offer what we do. So we do not benchmark ourselves to other apps. We compare ourselves to human. Compare, but not compete. We are a tool to help the therapists and their patients. That is why we're going B2B2C. Our application will help clinic and rehabilitation centers increase number of patients served and increase the revenue by 10 to 20%, and at the same time decrease the cost of the payer by 40% because of implementation of hybrid methods of treatment. We have implemented 19 mimic exercises covering tongue, lips, jaws, and brows, and sound model with over 200 sound practices assessing accuracy of a sound at the beginning, middle, and end of the word. We have achieved accuracy, precision, and recall rate in the range 70 to 90 in the lab, and in the pilots we have been conducted for a year and a half. We filed patent application in US and been accelerated by a number of innovation centers. We plan to launch by the year end once we are fully compliant with GDPR compliance. And in 2024, we plan to get CE mark as Class 1 medical device to be able to sell the product through the rehabilitation centers. And by 2025, we upgrade to Class 2A device and get FDA approval and become a matching platform for speech therapists and patients, and the knowledge sharing platform for best practice worldwide. We have our target markets are USA, Germany, UK, and Spain. We have expression of interest from China, India, and Indonesia. But we can achieve break-even within 7 months after launch when we hit 400 active users. Given the fact that there are millions on the waiting list, we do not anticipate any problems to achieve that number. Our funding needs is $2 million primarily for certification of formal clinical trials in EU, in US and EU, small portion for our sales team in EU. Our team comprises of 7 engineers and practicing part-time speech therapists. We have 12 months advisory support from Medical Innovation Incubator in Germany. We are the global team with global ambitions. And we will set a new standard in speech therapy enhancing experience for both therapists and their patients.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about the video. For some reason...
Technology. Now we will have
Yeah.
6 minutes for Q&A.
Okay.
Can you go back and describe the business model in more detail? Because I think that the first statement that you said about how very few insurers currently cover this and the other competitors are mainly going direct to consumer. I'm just trying to get a better sense of how you're actually going to launch this and the exact business model that you're employing.
Right, we're gonna launch. As a wellness and fitness application, and we're gonna launch through a therapist referral program because we're already piloting for a year and a half, and they can launch it through a subscription model. Once we get a class 1 medical device, we're gonna go through business license, so that is gonna be included in the bill because. Rehabilitation centers can use it as in-house simulator or remote patient monitoring. That's basically what we have been discussing. So it's going to be B2B when they will sell a license. They're going to pay fixed fee depending on the number of licenses, and they're going to include it in their own bill.
And when you sell it B2B, what is the return on investment pitch that you're giving them? Are they seeing more patients? Like, talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
I know there's some stuff about decreasing time for paperwork.
There is a combination of two things. First one is increase of throughput, because on top of number of patients served, because what's going to happen, the number of speech therapists won't change, right? Because whatever they have, they will still have, but they will have. They will charge the patient for monitoring, because remember we have that monitoring dashboard, like 7. So they're gonna go home after 3 months rehabilitation, and the monitoring based on the review of those reports or using our platform for that purposes. This is number one. This is benefit for their rehab. Simulator, and again. When we piloted, one speech therapist can serve one person. If it's a simulator, they can put like 5, 10, 15 kids in front of a computer, right? And one therapist can oversee it. So it's obviously much more throughput through one speech therapist. I don't think I have that picture here, but anyway, you can picture it, I guess. But B2C still, the market is very fragmental. So there are a lot of practitioners working in a small centers. So that is kind of given as well.
Hello, congratulations. Can you repeat, please, the funding needs and how do you will use this?
Right. Okay. We've been conducting trials, but those are not like formal trials which you need for getting the certification. So basically, we've been through the regulatory path incubation, and we conducted the what is needed, like a regulatory path to certification. And there is a lot of work to be done, including safety performance in EU, clinical trials to see the outcome, whether we achieve that outcome. So that sort of thing. And this is like in compliance with the MDR in EU. On top of it, FDA have a different requirements like in US, which you also need to do. And there is some overlap between regulation, but US have a slightly different. So I have like several price lists from several providers. So we basically, it's come roughly to 1.8, 1.9 altogether.
Hi, I'd like to know a bit more on your differentiation against competitors.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't.
Oh, shoot. Okay, while I'm looking for it, basically there are 2 medical devices on the market. One is in US, constant therapy, and one is DIGA-listed Neolixon in Germany. And all of them basically provide demonstration of exercises. So in other words, you won't know whether you're doing right or wrong. It's like a video saying, okay, this is how you need to perform exercise. And that's basically it. You can basically get it from YouTube for free, but they're selling it as a medical device. Our technology assesses accuracy of performance. And it's not just assessing it's right or wrong. It's saying exactly what is right or wrong. So every exercise has 4 to 9 various feedbacks depending on the error made. So it's not just, it's not correct. And on top of it, none of them produce, well, first of all, non-assessment, now real-time feedback. And we have 2 types of real-time feedback. I just didn't want to bother you. And none of them basically does dashboard reporting, which is save up to 25% of time. And again, when we show this to clinicians, they said, this is really something which makes their life easier because they hate doing reports.
Thank you.
I think that was the last question, actually. So thank you guys again for the presentation.
Okay. And this is CTO. If you have any questions, you can basically come up and ask him, Alexander.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Now we're going to have the final startup of today. It's going to be another Irish startup called Myndgard, and they're going to talk about their health solutions for management of kids patients. So please, Myndgard, we're glad to have you on the stage. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and we're nearly there, so don't panic. Just want to say congratulations to all the fantastic companies that we're on today. So the best of luck to everybody, and thanks to the EIT. So where's my go? Okay, so we're Myndgard, and what we do is we quantify mental health specifically with adolescents and young people, and that accelerates their healing. So how big is the problem? We all know how big this problem is. There's approximately 1 in 7 of adolescents has had experienced mental disorder worldwide. Suicide is the 4th leading cause of death in this age group. And there's about 4 million adolescents in the US who have a serious depressive episode. So how does it work? What we do is we focus on the sweet spot in the clinical journey. If you think about it, there's pre-therapy, therapy, and post-therapy. So we focus on the pre and post-therapy. And that means that we don't actually interfere in the actual therapy. So immediately everybody's assigned to a wait list. They download the app and they start using it. So what do? So we collect behavioral data, important behavioral data such as sleep, location, social interaction, and we also use clinically validated questionnaires to enhance the data. And we build a personalized clinical depression behavioral model. Now, there are a lot of different types of models, much more than you think. Like, depression can manifest itself as passivity, it can manifest itself as aggression, and there's a whole range of different behaviors. We provide this model to the psychotherapist pre-treatment. We also, importantly, monitor post-treatment for relapses. Now, my colleagues here I'll introduce them officially in a minute, but they're experts in this space. There's a lot more to this than just a couple of graphs. But the graphs that we present to the therapist are quite interesting, quite intricate. For example, this one here is the different types of emotion and thoughts and how strongly they're connected to each other. It's really a system, it's not just an app. Well, what are the benefits? Well, clearly the main benefit is faster, better outcomes for the client and the therapist. It also structures and makes the whole therapeutic approach compliant. There's 11% cost saving in triage management and time saved, and 40% increase in revenues because you can charge for the post-relapse as a service. And we cost about 1.5% of revenue, so it's a slam dunk on the business model. There's about 700 mental health apps, but there's only about 20 of them are what you might call clinically grounded. And this is the space we're in. And we want to be the leader in clinically based real-time therapeutics. The beachhead market is university psychological services. And clearly these are identifiable customers. They're relatively easy to contact. They all are stressed. They have too many clients and they've not enough resources. And there's a lot of word-of-mouth communications between them. And we're based in Ireland, so we can get to all 22 in Ireland. There's about 45 that we can get to in the UK and 500 in the US. So it's about 600 institutions in the beachhead market. Transaction model is very simple. Well, we just need about $10 per engagement. Bear in mind that therapy costs between $700 and $1,200, so we're quite low cost. It's a very simple model to bill. If you do a top-down market analysis, 8% of, this is very conservative numbers, 8% of the active market, we've got about 25 million in ARR. And if you build I'm a lot of experience in B2B selling. If you do a classic sales team build up, you get to 4 million with about 6 salespeople. Oh, so here's the A team. Personally identify as Mr. T. Don't know about the other lads, but we'll see. But anyway, so I'm the entrepreneurial lead. I've had a number of successful spin-outs. Dr. Adele Crean is a leading clinician in Ireland, a lot of clinical experience. Dr. Sean Kelly is a world leader in quantitative psychology. I forgot that right, Sean. And he's published in a number of major journals. So we've done a lot so far. We're quite there's always more. Now, I don't want to, the things I want to concentrate on is MVP developed. We did the clinic, we talked to 30 plus therapists and engaged with 3 clinics. We ran a clinical trial last year with 80 students. It was very successful. They got really into it. And we started a triage trial with the University in Galway just this month. We also have the most listened to podcast in therapy in Ireland. Here's part of our ecosystem. Trinity College Dublin. Enterprise Ireland is a government funding agency, and these are some of the clinics we engage with. So our ask is, so where we are is, we've just agreed 100K with EI. We expect, sorry, I'm going to make sure I get these right. We expect another 100 to 150K in further funding. We're getting tax relief for UK Angels, and we're looking for $1 million. Now, we can get that matched 1-for-1 with EI. Okay, so the ask could be 500,000. But we'll take more if you have it. Okay. So really, I started at the beginning. This is a great investment. It's commercializable now. There's a huge market. This is an ideal solution that is focused on where the problem is. We have a great team, amazing team, I have to say. And, you know, bang for the buck, this is a great investment. As I said, though, really the heart of this project is we're bringing young people help and hope when they need it most. As Adele said, it sort of releases them into their second childhood when they think they're losing it. So that's it, and thank you for listening. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your time discipline as well, and now we're going to have 6 minutes of Q&A. $1 million looks like a bargain. It's like cheap, right?
Hey, I'm a sales guy. You know what can I tell you? I have to go for it.
Congratulations. I would like to get more information on your target population, maybe with the doc. Because I've seen many apps, or many, as you see, this is a great market in terms of population, but also very competitive. So I like to understand which type of population are you precisely targeting first. And yeah, thank you.
We're looking to work with kids who are help seeking. So they're already looking for and seeking therapy. They're already on wait lists for therapists, private therapists, and they're already in counselling services in universities.
Okay,
so they would be from maybe the age of 15, 16 upwards.
Okay, and they haven't been screened by other type of, so how these kids are being identified at schools or universities?
Correct, there's always a referral process and a referral system. So a kid is in distress, they're referred by the school, by the GP, by the parent sometimes. And typically the practice manager will automatically do a very brief screening and you're waitlisted. And then depending on which therapist is available, you're then allocated to that therapist.
Okay.
So nothing happens from the time the kid says, I need some help, to the first session. right now.
And there's also still a problem on to identify that kids, because as far as I understood, there's also a challenge to screen for these kids, but because they're much more than it looks like.
Yeah, there's two types of kids. There are kids who haven't put themselves forward for help.
Yeah.
We're not targeting them right now. We're targeting the kids who've already looked for help.
Okay.
And waiting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, can you explain a little bit more about why you chose to target universities in general? Because I see that universities have a vested interest of their students, of course, and they want to provide the best care. But I'm trying to think of the contrast between who's paying for it, and then if potentially these students do not get this care and they relapse into the hospital, that's another person that's actually eating the financial burden of potentially what happens if the students don't get care. So I'm trying to figure out the return on investment for the university from an economics perspective. I think the clinical value is there. It makes complete sense.
So we've talked to a number of US universities. Their issue is they're overburdened. As you probably are aware, the federal government recently has put, I forget what it was, about 5 or 8 billion into mental health for this target market. If you think about the target market, they're most used to sharing their information. They are most used to using devices, and they are the least resistant to using this. So that's sort of the top view. But in effect, as what Adele said, they're help-seeking. They're already in a frame of mind. And what we got out of the UCD study was that they really love getting feedback about their mental health, serious feedback about their mental health. You know, that was encouraging them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, it does. And one quick follow-up. So the budget that the university is going to use to purchase this, is there existing examples of budgets for digital health solutions within these universities? Like, are you marketing it to a budget that already exists, or are you allowing the university to quantify the problem so that, you know, government or public agencies can come in and give them the money to then pay for the solution?
Yeah, the model we did is very conservative. So you saw there was a 11% saving in direct costs, and we cost 1.5%. So on that basis, it works. I can talk to this, is there's digital health therapies being brought by universities. You're aware of one of that?
There's a committee, heads of department committee in Ireland that meet, and they're heads of department of all the counselling services for university students. And they have put themselves in quite a powerful position, and they now distribute the funding for mental health from the Higher Education Authority into those services. So they make a lot of decisions, and I have a good relationship with them.
Okay, make it.
And I would say that they have mixed, I would say some of the universities have no digital solutions, no digital approach, and some have now started some early funding. And we mentioned some of them in the slide, Together All and companies like that.
Right, thank you.
We're on the wave, really. That's what it boils down to.
Quick question. How do you adapt this technology to different regions? Meaning that there's difference in the culture in USA, UK, and...
I think Sean might be the best. Joan is actually American, so we were ready to go.
Nice. Well, a lot of the symptoms of mental health conditions are quite similar between populations, but one of the advantages to our approach is that it's very customizable to what individual therapists see as the primary driver. So these models are fully personalizable, essentially. So therapists can select which individual symptoms they're most keen on looking at. So that can take into account cross-cultural differences, also differences that they see between different subpopulations within their same clinic. So because of that, the solution is essentially able to account for a wide variety of factors that even we can't account for at the current status.
Yeah, and finally, you talk about, first of all, congratulations. You talk about the clinical trial in Dublin. What were the results of this trial? Did you find that you targeted the right parameters, or did you find any major flaws in the process?
We'll let the intelligent people answer that question.
I mean, it was a very successful trial. It was a very intensive version, so it was a shorter version of what we intend to present to the general population. So that was really the only major maybe challenge there, was the intensity of the level of engagement we were asking. But again, that was a learning we took, and we kind of know that we need to make it less intensive for kind of more general populations.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So that was actually the last presentation from this wildcard competitors. So right now we're going to have a moment that we were all waiting for, at least the participants from the EAT wildcard, but I think after all those speeches that you saw, you are still interested and you would love to see and hear who actually won this competition. And to actually say the last words and tell us about who won the competition of EAT wildcard, please welcome again Celia Pita from EAT Health.
Hello, everyone. So I have the rare honor to be second to last, and I'll make sure to not make this longer than it needs to be, but at the same time, we wanted to make sure to finish with a bang our wildcard program and all the work that we've been doing for the past almost a year since we started in the inception to the challenge to the culmination of the pitches that you have seen today. First of all, I will just like to thank our hosts for having us here, and Paulina and the team for all the organizations that have done, and i4Kids for having us here. It has been a rare pleasure. Yes, please. So really, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been very welcoming to be here in Warsaw. So what we're going to do, and you might be wondering, wildcard award ceremony, what are we doing here? So as I was saying, this is a program. It's not really a competition, but we have something in store to kind of acknowledge all the work and all the amazing innovations that you have seen today. So I would just like to start bringing to stage every single one of the teams to give them the certificate for the completion of the wildcard program. That is no small feat. As you said, as I was saying at the beginning, we started with 16 teams. Now we have only 7, and it was a hard-used competition to get here. So first, I would like to call on Joan Life Science, Mark, Ryan. It's really thank you for all the work. So I don't know if you want to say something about the journey so far, Mark. What do you think? Put you on the spot.
No, it's no problem. Yeah, what I said to Magda and last night was like, you know, EIT had the nerve to put deadlines on our dreams. I think people here have really good intentions and big plans, and it's all very exciting. But then you're getting pulled back to say, well, have you thought of this and thought of that? And that might sound annoying, but it's really important, and we've got a lot from it. And you know, we've been talking about it. It's a two-man show for the most part, and it's really come on a lot if you look at our deck from the start and where it is now. So we really appreciate what you guys do, genuinely. Thank you.
What he said.
Big round of applause for Joan, please. Thank you. So guys, now you can go ahead. So next on the list, and the furthest one they come on the most international team, we have Mila for AI. Firuza, are you here? Thank you so much for coming and for all the work. Would you like to say some words, Firuza? Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us here and admitting us to Wildcard program. I think that was a absolutely amazing experience when people are challenging you, asking you a question which you might be trying to put away. It was absolutely great team of mentors from US, from Europe with different opinions, and very great ET Health team. So I hope that we will continue cooperation within one way or another. Same.
Well, she said. Thank you so much. So next, we have Gate2Brain from Spain, Marichel. Can you join me?
Yeah, thanks, Elias. So it has been really a gift, no? An accelerated gift, and I can thank Elena and Claudia that the three of us were in the middle of August starting this adventure. And for me, the best thing is the family we create with the 7 finalists, because we are doing different solutions, but we all believe in that it's pediatric first, so it was really an adventure. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So from Spain to Spain, Aira Medtech. Pilar. Please, coming to the stage. We'll wait. Don't worry, no need to run. As long as you want.
Thank you very much. So everything has been said for me. That I used to be a I was leading an accelerating program. It was amazing to live it from the inside and experience how it truly accelerates a project. It's like amazing. I love that. And the negative part of this is that it's finished. And I need my mentors. I need the program for like a year maybe. So if you could extend it, please, I would appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
That's great to hear. Thank you, Pilar.
You can advertise mentoring network.
Yes. We'll see. So now we are crossing to Belgium, Innocens. I don't see you. There you are. Sorry, the light doesn't let me see. Hello. So, last on the list. You will do the talking? Okay. Spokesperson.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So it was an amazing journey for us. And I think as a team, we matured a lot thanks to the crash course. And that feels that we got a lot stronger and that we already won in that way. So everything else is a surplus for us. Thanks a lot for everyone.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the drive, but it's a little bit longer. So we have another team, Rehabilia Technologies, coming from Italy. Round of applause, please. Hi, Matteo. There you go. Who wants to say a few words? Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Oh, what to say? Thank you. Thank you. It was, I would say, awesome in the sense that we had, a lot to do. The work was not easy, but surely, and it was intense. But yeah, we had the possibility of meet virtually very awesome people, many people, very. Nothing else to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matteo. Thank you. And next we have MindGuard. So, yes, I see you in the room. Hello, Pat. Yes, so, Adele, do you want to say something?
I'd just like to, there's a lot of people who have been involved over the last couple of months. I'd like to really thank everybody. I know a lot of work goes on behind the scenes. I'd like to special mention to EIT, Ireland, UK, and the people involved there, particularly Mark and Elaine and Sneha. There have been a lot of really positive experiences out of this. One is meeting yourselves throughout the last couple of weeks, but especially today. We've also got to know the other teams. We're looking forward to a nice evening meal and forging those bonds, and hopefully they'll continue. And also we might frame this, put it beside a picture of John Collins, one of our mentors and leaders, and a special mention also to the other mentors, Mustafa and Alfonso. So big thank you to everybody.
Thank you so much. It's been a very great experience, and the work hasn't gone unnoticed. So before we go on to the big surprise, I would like to bring to the stage Ricard and Daniel. Would you come? So Ricard and Daniel are part of the i4Kids, the Kids Barcelona Foundation, in which they work a lot to drive innovation from a patient perspective. And they were actually part of the evaluation panel today. And I would just like to ask you a few words on how you see this experience from their participation in the workshop and how we frame this challenge to seeing the projects now come to fruition. What is your thoughts?
Well, I think it was a pleasure being part of this team because we could show that all these projects had in common that they want to improve problems that are occurring nowadays. So this is nice, no? Trying to improve things, make the medicine better for children. This is fantastic. And well, it was a pleasure to see all these projects and also choosing which one would be the winner.
Yeah, and I think that our own experience says that this is the right direction to go because we have found ourselves with some of the problems that we're trying to solve here now. And seeing projects that try to solve these problems that we faced come to reality, I think that we're like fulfilled to see things like this go to reality and things like this happen.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank you for all your work to get us here. So to the moment that we've all waiting for. So today there was a panel, there were some questions, there was some scores going on. And even though, as I was saying, this has not been a competition, it has been a lot of piece of work, we wanted to acknowledge a little bit merit and performance tonight. So we have a special surprise prepared for two of the teams that we're gonna call on stage, first place and runner-up. So Maria, if you can come in and tell us the results.
So we would like to call Gate2Brain and Innocens to the stage. So we want to invite our jury member panels to explain who is the winner and the runner-up and the reasoning why. So welcome to the stage.
Okay, so in the middle. Okay. Okay. So I think, well, first, all are the winners, and it's been quite difficult, okay, to be honest, and we could be there for maybe a couple of hours more, but at the end we have to decide it, and well, we have some process on scoring, and I have to say a hot debate between us, but we finally choose these two projects, okay? I'm going to explain about why Innocens, and basically there are three main reasons. The first one is the impact that this technology is going to be able to do on kids, okay? The second one, it's more based on there's a clear unmet clinical need, and this technology will be able to find a solution for this need. And the third one is, I think, the capability of scaling up with this to not only to adults later, but as well to engage with pharmaceutical industry on helping them. So they are the winners, and congratulate them, okay? Yeah. And I think another person have to explain more about Gate2Brain, please.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, just to reiterate that we had a lot of fun back there. I'd say there was a heated discussion, but thank you so much to all the startup companies that came. You did a great job pitching. There was no real negative feedback. I think the progress that you guys have made over the entire program has been really impressive. And it was awesome to hear kind of how you've evolved from day one till now. So thank you very much. So Gate2Brain, I think, congratulations to you guys. I think, this is not an easy space to innovate in. You guys have been incredibly bold. Some people would turn away or get scared by these type of bold issues, but you guys haven't. So I think the impact, again, to reiterate that, was very interesting. I think how thoughtful you guys have been about your strategy in terms of coming from the clinical evidence of why this is a thing and how you de-risk the strategy. We were really impressed with the fact that, no matter how hard our questions were in terms of how the heck are you ever going to accomplish this, you had fantastic answers in terms of not only the clinical, but the technical and biological justification for why you were doing that. And then also, I think, based on some of the experiences of the team, what we've seen as an appetite from the potential licensees of this type of technology. So, we've reviewed and talked to these experts and these strategics, and so I think this is a very timely innovation that they've been hoping for. So between all of those, we thought you guys did an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And I just want to say a little bit, you see this beautiful text here, so come together. So the teams will have a voucher for 1,500 euros to use in mentoring services that you can get through EIT Health. The idea is to continue on the journey and continue supporting. I think Pilar said it somewhere around the room that she wishes that it didn't end, so they could keep getting it. So you're the lucky ones that you can still get a little bit of a piece of the EIT Health pressing arm. Really, congratulations. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. And everyone, please reach out to our companies and everything that you've been seeing. If there's anything of your interest, they're here. We will continue to be here later afterwards. And I would just like to thank everyone involved, and a big round of applause again for all the teams. Thank you so much.